What's up, Taiwan? I'm Ethan Liu with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. To crack down on child abuse, the cabinet wants to put a legal limit on how parents may punish their children. Officials say they'll make sure parents with questions have plenty of resources. But parents' groups worry that the wording of the proposal is too vague and open to misuse. John Ventress reports.
Attitudes towards the punishment of children in Taiwan have changed sharply in just one generation. The law allows parents to punish children, quote, within the limits of necessity. And many parents these days interpret the limits of necessity a lot more gently than their own parents did.
像我们这个年代都是被打的长大的，觉得小朋友他还是应该要，就是我们要去处罚他，可能画一个格子让他罚站，但我会待在他旁边，我不能不理他。
正向教养，例如说，如果他不吃饭，一直看电视，就是跟他说，吃完饭就是可以吃水果，立刻马上的给他鼓励。
But child abuse remains a social problem often in the news. And the cabinet wants to set legal limits to how far parents can go. It wants to replace the Civil Code article on punishments for children. The proposed new text urges parents to consider the age and developmental level of the child. And most importantly, it bans any physical or mental violence. It's early days still. The cabinet has lots of persuading to do to get lawmakers on board with its proposal. But already, different ministries are painting the idea as a step in the right direction.
这个父母亲不是说不能管教小孩，但是我们希望能够用正向的方式。
And they say there are already resources in place for parents with questions about how to do that, from a national hotline to family education centers in each county.
未来政府在这方面呢，应该会扩大相关的这个协助，那并且呢扩大宣导。
But some parents are unsure about the proposal. They worry it strips parents of their right to guide their children's development, and that the wording is too vague.
你的定义很不清楚啊，因为你是任何形式的身心，而且以孩子的感受为主，他要对这个法有正确的解读，避免他引用错误，然后一直制造亲子的对立。
And so the cabinet may have even more work to do if it wants its plan to pass with popular support, addressing concerns like these and winning over skeptics. Patrick Chen and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
People under the age of 16 may no longer be able to use social media in Australia after a new government ban on teen social media use. While the implementation of the blanket ban is at least a year off, many in the country are questioning the move. Chris Gorin reports.
Well, good morning, everyone.
Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese announces a new law that will ban all social media use for Australians under the age of 16.
World-leading action to make sure social media companies meet their social responsibility. Social media is doing harm to our children. And today, as a direct result of our legislation, parents can have a different discussion with their young ones.
The ban would make no exceptions for parental consent and would require social media companies to take reasonable steps to enforce the ban on its users or pay millions of dollars in fines. The ban will not take effect for at least a year. The new law would impact nearly every child in the country. Recent studies show that 98% of Australian 10th graders regularly use at least one social media platform. At the same time, only 33% of parents feel that their children are safe online. Reactions in Australia have been mixed.
I don't think it's a good thing, really, because I think that it's not going to stop it, and also the government's taking control of things that is parents' responsibility.
I think that's a great idea because I found that the social media for kids is not really appropriate.
Australian teens have a different perspective.
Since I struggle with mental health issues like anxiety and depression, I think it would make those a lot worse than they already are. Being autistic, I have a really, really hard time connecting with others, and doing that online makes it a lot easier, a lot less stressful for me.
17-year-old Leonardo Puglisi founded an online news streaming platform when he was just 11 years old. He says the ban could stop many young people from pursuing their passion.
You know, if this ban was in place a few years ago, 6 News wouldn't have existed in the first place. We built up our team by having 13, 14, 15-year-olds, people my age, reach out and see us through social media.
Technology companies have been tasked with finding ways to verify users' age without violating their privacy through enforcement trials in the coming months.
It's a fundamental misunderstanding that age assurance is not identity assurance. Identity assurance is where I'm proving that I am Tony. Age assurance is just simply that I am old enough to be able to access something. If you want to go into a shop to buy a gun, you expect to go through some friction about your right to buy a gun.
Other countries have already cited Australia's ban as an inspiration for their own. This includes Venezuela, a country that human rights groups say already severely restricts freedom of expression.
Creo que todo eso debe regularse inmediatamente a través de una ley especial. Le pido a la Asamblea Nacional plenipotenciaria, soberana, que construya un consenso para que hagamos una buena ley de protección como hizo Australia y como están haciendo todos los países del mundo.
The Australian law may be the testing lab for the rest of the world, and the sweeping change may reshape how governments and tech companies handle online youth safety moving forward. Joseph Wu and Chris Gorin for TaiwanPlus.
Next week, President Lai Ching-te will be making his first international trip, including a transit in the U.S. state of Hawaii. While Taiwanese presidents cannot officially visit the United States, several have made transit layovers. To find out more about the diplomatic significance of this trip, Alec McDonald spoke with Mihai Sora of the Lowy Institute.
We now know that President Lai will make a transit in Hawaii. What is the significance of this being a transit instead of a stop?
An official stop for the Taiwanese president could be very provocative for the Chinese. China has a policy of discouraging where it can any such official interaction. So calling it a transit, or in effect having a transit rather than an official meeting, is a way to accommodate that level of political interaction without provoking a counter-reaction from official Chinese sources.
How do the current political tensions compare to when President Tsai Ing-wen made her transits in the United States?
It's a mixed picture in the sense that on the one hand, you have very recent high-level interactions between Jake Sullivan and Chinese counterparts. That's on the one track. On the other track, of course, we see an escalation in Chinese provocations in contexts such as the South China Sea, certainly looming as a backdrop over this visit and over foreign policy for the next couple of years will be incoming US President Donald Trump and his own positions on China, on Taiwan, and other regional points of friction. So I'd say this is an important visit. The transit stop will be an important occasion to discuss with a like-minded country regional and global security.
Following his transit in Hawaii, President Lai will continue to the Marshall Islands, Palau, and Tuvalu. What sort of diplomatic confidences might Taiwan be able to give to these nations during this trip?
Well, Taiwan has it's a small scale, but a very effective program of bilateral development cooperation in these three countries. Taiwan has strengths in providing technical capacity building programs in health, in agriculture. In this case, we're seeing a thematic focus on maritime domain awareness. So perhaps the president will be in a position to offer additional Taiwanese resources for these Pacific countries to police or to manage their marine resources and to improve their maritime domain awareness. It's these sorts of development activities that add ballast to that relationship. Of course, the key significance is the political nature of it, that Taiwan is sending their highest political representative. It's not a trip that a Taiwanese president makes very often, so maintaining that political relationship with his peers is very important.
That was Mihai Sora, Director of the Pacific Islands Program at Australia's Lowy Institute. Taiwan's presidential office is thanking the British Parliament for passing a motion of support for the country. The motion rejects China's use of United Nations Resolution 2758 to claim sovereignty over Taiwan. Beijing says the resolution that transferred Taipei's UN seat to Beijing in 1971 means the global body recognizes Taiwan as part of China. But the British Parliament rejected that stance. It says the resolution does not address the political status of Taiwan. The European Union and Canada have passed similar expressions of support in recent months. Russian President Vladimir Putin is threatening to carry out missile strikes on Ukraine decision-making centers.
В настоящее время Министерство обороны и Генеральный штаб российской армии подбирают цели для поражения на территории Украины. Это могут быть военные объекты, предприятия оборонной промышленности или центры принятия решений в Киеве.
Putin made the statement after Russian forces carried out a strike on Ukraine's energy grid, leaving over 1 million people without power. Moscow said the attack was in retaliation for Ukraine's first ever use of US-supplied ATACMS missiles on Russian territory. Putin also announced plans to ramp up production of advanced missiles for future strikes on Ukrainian targets. A screening of a film on alleged harvesting of prisoners' organs by China is getting police protection after an online threat. The showing at Taipei City Hall isn't the first to receive threats. But as Zhang Mantres reports, that hasn't stopped the film from getting shown.
Screenings of the documentary State Organs, a film about alleged harvesting of prisoners' organs by China, have attracted threats since the film arrived in Taiwan last month. And even the Taipei City Council hasn't been exempt from them. A person calling themselves Li Hongshan has threatened to carry out a mass stabbing at a showing in the council building planned for Saturday. Police are investigating the source of this online threat, reported Wednesday. Both the film's Taiwan distributor and council members are defiant.
看一场电影啊，还要被恐吓，这个描述中共是现代的纳粹，他给我们的回应是枪跟子弹，这是给真善美戏院的。
明天下午我们正式播映，而且会播好播满假冒李鸿山的先生这位人，你最好是敢来，看看是谁敢这么大胆来恐吓我们台北市议会。
Police have vowed to make sure the screening will go ahead as planned.
周边大概有43名的警力，市府保大的诸位警有8名，大概有51名的警力，来守护这个我们议会，包括这个播映活动的圆满顺利完成。
It is clear someone doesn't want the film to be seen in Taiwan, but Taipei officials at least are determined that whoever is making these threats won't get their way. Scott Huang and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's first ever stealth attack boat drone has made its debut. A private company developed the Piranha 9 and is now showing it off at the Kaohsiung Boat Show in southern Taiwan. The vessel can be armed with 4 loitering munitions or up to 500 kilograms of explosives. The designer says that the boat can carry out both reconnaissance and attack missions. According to reports, countries in the Middle East and North Africa have expressed interest in purchasing the drone. Taiwan has won yet another baseball championship after its Little League team beat South Korea 5-1 at the U12 Asian Baseball Tournament. The win earns Taiwan its 8th title in the tournament and successfully defends their 2023 championship. Taiwan capitalized on a wild pitch, errors by South Korea, and strong hitting to score 5 runs in the first inning. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, come with us to London's annual Gingerbread City. This year's theme is Recycled City. I'm Ethan Liu. Take care, and I'll see you next time.